right, hello and welcome to the Four Bros podcast. I don't even know what episode this is. That doesn't matter. But we are here, all four of us, Andy, Brian, Matt, myself. We are here, ready to go. Coming off a great episode with the voice of the Syrupmakers and Michael Best. And now we are here with all the four bros ready to tackle yet another great episode. Have a lot of things lined up for you. Going to talk some high school football, going to talk some college football. Got a new segment at the end of the episode, so stick around for that. But we want to jump right in, so hope you enjoy this episode of the Four Bros podcast. First thing we want to get into is Church League softball has come to a close. It is over, and we, unfortunately, our team did not win the championship like we had once hoped for. I think we finished third place. Is that right? Does that sound right to everybody? Third place.
That's right.
It was a hard. I think we mentioned it a couple podcasts ago. I got hurt, and then Alan, our third baseman, he couldn't be there for the last 5 games, so we both missed the last 5 games together. And so the guys probably did not finish the way they would want to. But I'll kind of get y'all's reaction, starting with Brian. I mean, what was your thoughts there as you kind of wrapped up the season? I know how I felt. Sitting in the dugout watching, I was frustrated because I wanted to be out there. Yeah. But when you have to sit in the dugout and watch, but what was y'all's reaction to the end of the season there?
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough break. I mean, losing you and losing Alan. I told several people this. I mean, you're basically losing 2 of, if not the 2 best infielders in the whole league. I mean, honestly, and you really can't replace it. It showed up. We ended up there in the tournament having to play. Well, we finished the league on Monday, and then we went right into the tournament. So we played 5 games, and you go from playing 2 games or 1 game a week, and then all of a sudden we played 5 games in 1 week. I think it just ultimately caught up to us, took its toll. We were down to 10 players. I mean, it is what it is. Can't make excuses. That kind of stuff happens. Alan had some family stuff come up. He was unable to be there after, coming back from that ankle and playing really well all year. It was tough, man, but it is what it is. We'll be back next year, hopefully a little healthier, and see what happens. But it was fun again. We enjoyed the fellowship. There was some good competition this year. I think competition is just going to keep getting tougher. So looking forward to it.
And I felt bad too, because I feel like at the very beginning when we started the season, that was the one thing we kept saying on the podcast too, is like, if we just stay healthy, we'll be there at the end, and we may be the ones competing for the championship. And I think we spoke that into existence too much because, then we battled injuries. I mean, I think the first couple of games, Andy goes down, but it didn't seem to affect him too much. I think he only ended up missing one or 2 games. So, and those games we won, but but we are. I mean, our team, like if everybody can get healthy, then now it'll be a whole nother year. That Alan will have to come back from the ankle, and hopefully, depending on how things go, and with my doctor's appointments coming up, we can get this behind us pretty quickly and get out there and go. But on the flip side of all of it, all of us are getting a year older, so that doesn't help. So
I'll be 4-0 next softball season.
Yeah.
Golly.
But
it's a tough scene. Tough scene.
It comes fast, fellas. It comes fast.
Wow.
Tough scene. But we would be remiss if we didn't shout out to the Faith Mennonites and Abundant Life Binders and Believers. We got put out by Abundant Life. And so, I guess Abundant Life and the Mennonites, they both put us out of the tournament. It was double elimination, and they both took a turn. So, but they met in the championship game, and we weren't there. But from what we hear, it was a pretty thrilling championship match.
Yeah.
So the Mennonites had to beat Abundant Life twice. They beat them the first game, not convincingly, but I mean a pretty standard game. Beat them like 9-5 or something. Sent it to a second game, so now it was a winner take all. And Abundant Life came back at the bottom of the last inning and won something like 18-17. So,
and it was apparently it was off of a fluke play over towards third base. I found out. Yeah. Ball was hit down the line, and instead of throwing the guy out at first, which he could have done, he he didn't think about it from what I was told today. He didn't even it didn't even cross his mind. It was dude was running into home, whatever. He just kind of gave it up. And had he thrown the guy out, could have possibly either went into another inning or something to that effect. It's tough.
Well, and there's kind of two takeaways that I have from, and it's both sides. One for one team. For Abundant Life, I mean, what a turnaround, right?
Mm-hmm.
They go from last place last year, 1-11 record, and then they turn around and finish 10-2 this year, and they win the whole thing. I mean, I played with a lot of those guys in Thomasville after the Church League season, and Kyle Moy, who we've had on the podcast, he came up to me and he said, "Oh, we reloading." He's like, "We're not doing that again," and they didn't, and they responded big. So shout out to them. They had a great team all year, and we were fortunate to steal one in the regular season, but it was on a walk-off, and so it was tough. And but those guys are going to come back just as good, if not better, next year. So it'll be crazy. I think the competitiveness of all of it is just going to continue to increase. My biggest thing, though, is I hope that we get more teams next year. I would love to see more teams in it next year. But on the flip side, this is something that I mentioned to Jesse was. Now, this is 2 years in a row. Think about this now. 2 years in a row that the Mennonites have faced defeat via a walk-off in the championship game. If you guys don't think that next year and they were good. Like, they were good this year. They had some new players that showed up in big – that left fielder is amazing.
Yeah.
He is so good. And he'll be back next year. They got some younger guys that'll be back next year that have more experience. Things are spicing up, and it's gonna be really good. But all of that being said, we have an entire year to sit on it. So
Amen.
have a entire year to think about it, entire year to try to get healthy. So, but anyway, so shout out to Abundant Life. Congratulations on the 2024 Church League Championship. So that was kind of Church League in a nutshell. Now moving on. Because we had Michael Best on last week and talked about some high school football, we want to kind of recap that game. It was Cairo High School, the Syrupmakers, who we all root for, versus the Thomas County Central Yellow Jackets. Again, Thomas County Central coming off a 6A state championship last year. And so what a crazy game to open up with. It was in the Jackets' nest. Crazy, loud environment. We just want to kind of recap that game. Central did win 44-14. However, with being in the stands, all four of us were sitting together watching. I would be the first to say that I don't think that score tells the whole story.
Right.
It was from my perspective, and then we'll jump to Andy, Matt, and Brian and see what they think. But I just thought that Cairo played really good in the first half. Played really tough. I think we shocked Central. I think they got pushed back on their heels there right away. And then I think at one point it was 21-14. We were just kind of trading blows on the offensive side of the ball, and we got a huge takeaway and capitalized off of that, I think, which made it 21-14. And then we had the ball again, got another stop, and had a chance to possibly tie the game up with just under 4 minutes before half. And then we had a costly turnover. And it wasn't just a turnover like, oh, it's okay, we'll get the ball back. You could feel just even in the stands, all the energy was just gone. Like, it just sucked the wind out of our sails. And Central just never looked back from that moment. And they scored twice in the matter of like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. It just happened so quick, and it went from 21-14, and then they walked into the locker room 35-14, and you're like, what just happened?
Yeah.
And then they ended up scoring a couple more, a touchdown, a field goal there in the second half. But I thought our guys responded really well. It gave me a lot of hope for the rest of the season, because I don't think anybody in the state gave us a chance to even score, and let alone compete with them for a half. And that's exactly what we did. And they got a lot of great players. They're young, but they're super talented. A lot of Division I talent on that team. So shout out to Central, not taking anything away from them. But Mr. Syrupmaker himself, Brian, what was your thoughts on the whole ordeal?
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised. I honestly thought we would get pushed around a little bit, and we didn't for a half. We definitely move the ball better on offense. I still, having seen Cairo 3 times this year with Irwin and Worth and Central, I think there's some stuff on the backside of the defense that, and I think I truly believe it's just inexperience and youth. Receivers are just running wide open. There's a lot of confusion back there, and if you look at it, that's kind of how Central scored. It was big, huge chunk plays, and it wasn't just other than maybe their first drive, but even on their first drive, they got a chunk play with that tight end over the middle. It's not like they just lined it up and just shoved it down our throat. They caught us with some big plays, and you hit the nail on the head, man. I was like over the moon. Like we were. I'm gonna tell you something. I've got a pretty good temperature gauge on the Cairo crowd, and we were right there where you're talking about 21-14, 4 minutes to go. Man, if we were able to just go down and burn that out and go into half, or man, if we were able to go down and score there and tie it up, that game would have been very interesting. But like you said, that one turnover, couple plays later, hit a wide open receiver, kick it back off, get a quick stop, call on the timeouts, get the ball back with a short field, another quick score, and then bing, bam, boom, it's 35-14. And you could feel it like it was kind of like we knew we had to play perfect to have a chance, and that one little imperfection in that turnover really bit us. But I will say this, I was surprised with how well we stuck it to them for a half. And even in the second half, man, we gave up a touchdown and a safety where a guy, our guy called a fair catch deep down there in our territory, and they ended up making a play. By that time, Duncan was out of the game with some symptoms that he's been cleared of. Bryce Wilson had been knocked out of the game with a shoulder injury. So, at that point, essentially, we're almost second stringing it, and we still didn't. That game easily could have gotten away from us, and it didn't. So I was proud of the guys. I was really, really pleased, and like you said, the score 44-14. Anyway you shake it out, that sounds like a butt whooping, but I don't think it was that bad, honestly.
And I'll kind of add to that as far as, when you think about it, so we were going back and forth with them, which of course did shock them. I knew a couple of people over on Central side, and when we scored that second touchdown, like they talked about how there was kind of like on our side, there was kind of this moment of emotion where all of a sudden, like, oh no, like what's happening? Like this shouldn't be taking place. But if you really think about it and you step back and look at the game, so they scored 35 points in the first half. They came out, they only scored 9 more the whole second half of the game. And that is with Duncan going down. That is with Bryce going down. Dude, these guys fought hard. And here's the thing. Central kept their first string in all the way till like halfway through the fourth quarter still. Like they hurt. I think they kept them there until they finally pulled them out halfway through the fourth quarter, and we held them to only 9 points. This is the reigning 6A state champions, and we held them to 9 points. Dude, that's incredible. It's incredible. Yeah. To see those guys fight. I remember I went over and saw Coach Coleman that morning, and I made the statement to him. I was like, man, I'm ready to see y'all do something really cool tonight. And didn't know what to expect. When you look at it from an outside looking in and on paper, you have the reigning 6A state champs, and then you have us who are half of their size. It looks on paper like this is going to be kind of a cakewalk game for them, but no, dog. No, them boys came out to play. And it was I think the little number one, he was kind of scrappy right out the very first kickoff of the game. Yeah. And there was a fire lit, and they played good, man. I think we do have, of course, we still have some more to learn, but I think most people have said it right. I think that's probably going to be the toughest team that we're going to face this year from that aspect of it. And if that's the case, oh, dude, I'm excited for the rest of this football season because I think there's only one way to go, and that's up for sure.
All right, so that is just kind of a wrap there on the Central and Cairo game. So, like I said, Cairo's got some things to work on, but there was a lot of positives to take from it, a lot of things to just be pleased with. And I think, too, I'll say this is, Brian had mentioned this in a couple, kind of getting back to that Syrupmaker standard and what it looks like to, kind of be like the Cairo of old. And, one thing I will say one thing that Brian did say is like, we may not be the best on the field or we win or lose, like you're going to feel us. And I think for that first half, I really think Central felt Cairo in that
Yeah.
game. Like we really put it to them. It kind of got shocking there for them for a little bit. And like I said, I really think that they truly did feel us. So, but now we get into what's probably another tough game, and that's Thomasville.
Yeah.
I mean, this is no cakewalk either. So playing Thomasville, it is at West Thomas Stadium, so this is a home game for Cairo and first home game of the year. So I know our crowd's going to be excited. They always travel well because I mean it's just across the creek, so it'll be a good game there. But so we'll see. We'll see what Cairo can do in Thomasville. But Brian, kind of give me your thoughts going into this game. What are your expectations, and how do you think this game is going to shake out from Cairo and Thomasville?
Thomasville is one of those teams right now that if Central wasn't as good as they are and haven't accomplished what all they've accomplished in the recent um, last couple of years, I think a lot more people would be talking about this Thomasville team.
Yeah.
You have a young quarterback that is just wait until you see him play. He is a specimen. I keep hearing people. I'm not gonna call his name, but I got a guy that's really, really close to the Central program that told me that Thomasville's skill guys are better than Central skill guys. They're not going to have the depth. They're not going to have the size, but skill guys, they got some guys that can flat out go. So I don't know, man. I mean, I promise you this. This ain't no gimme. It's going to take every ounce that we have in us to go out. We're going to have to be physical. We're going to have to match their energy. They're going to be bringing a big crowd over here. They are excited. I'm telling you, Central's getting all the attention, but Thomasville High School, they are excited about what they have. And I'm telling you, man, it's going to take it all. It's going to take all of us Friday night making noise and really showing up for these kids. It's going to be a tough ball game.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Matt, what's your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I mean, I think the same thing. Listening to a couple of people, and I think Brian just kind of solidified that, is listening about their quarterback and things like that. I mean, here's the thing: since I've been in Cairo, the Thomasville and Cairo games have always been very hard fought rivalry kind of games. And both sides of the ball, it seemed like both teams seem to bring some kind of energy that sometimes you wouldn't see. I mean, which is why it's a rivalry game. I'm excited about it. It is our very first home opener game. I do think, like Brian, they're going to bring a big crowd. And our crowd got to see last week just what the effects of crowd noise, crowd involvement really does. And I think our people have to show out and show up. I mean, here's the thing: you can affect the momentum of the game by the way you cheer for your athletes, for your kids, for your team. And I mean, here's the thing: like, show up and be loud. Don't just show up and just sit. I mean, if you're going to just sit, stay home. Show up and be loud. Like, cheer on these kids, man. They're working hard. They're flying around. They're doing the best they can to wear your name on the front of their jersey. Like, let's get behind them. And I think if we come out with the amount of fight that we had this past Friday night, it's going to be a really good game. It's going to be a really good game, I think.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like, hearing I heard Brian tell me that earlier in the week about Thomasville having some really, high-powered skill players and stuff. But I think, again, this is one of those games where Cairo can come out. We can come out swinging and do some damage. And, I wasn't going to address this, and I don't think anybody on the podcast is going to address this, but I think from a fan base perspective, and I know Matt and Brian are like, oh Lord, what's he fixing to say? From a fan base perspective, and for us as Syrupmaker fans, our goal needs to be, cheering these boys on and making sure that they are best equipped for not just this game, but for every game. I know there's some things that could get like real distracting. Like, we had some issues in the central game with as far as noise and crowd. That's going to be there in every game. It's a little bit more elevated here in South Georgia, but again, I think for us as fans, not to get too wrapped up in that, but to just go out there, support the boys, and again, these are high school kids playing a sport, and that's what we gotta remember. And
somebody needs
continue to cheer
to
them on.
somebody needs to step up and lead the crowd energy. It used to be me, believe it or not. It used to be me. I know that blows y'all's mind, but now I cannot afford to completely and totally lose my voice because I got to preach 2 days later. So I've had to learn over the years I cannot just let it all go on Friday night. But dude, I'm telling you, back in the 2000s, the state championship runs, but all those deep playoff runs after that, man, I'm talking about from the get-go. Ain't even nothing would have to happen yet. We would already have that place rocking. And a lot of people know that. And what happens over time, of course, winning makes it a lot easier for people to get excited. I understand that. But I'm going to tell you, I was excited Friday night, and I was kind of waiting for that. And that's what got me about that turnovers. I felt like I felt like the crowd was like at a feet, like we were real close to breaking through that barrier. It's almost like being at a middle school dance when the girls are on one side and the guys are on the other. And if somebody will just take that first step and start dancing, like it'll be a really fun night. So somebody needs to make the first move Friday night and let's make some noise. I mean, I'll participate, tell you what we need. But
we need that one lady who always brings her pot and pan to the game. I don't know if y'all have ever seen this lady or not. When I used to get on top of the press box with Coleman and them, you look down and she's beating a pot that she brings from the house, just beating the full out of this thing.
Brings a metal spoon and a pot.
Let's go.
Everybody bring all your kitchen supplies.
Bring what you got, baby. Let's go.
Man, we used to have the nastiest, just plain Jane defense. I'm talking about we would just lay into it, and it would be loud and obnoxious. I mean, somebody, I'm begging you, somebody needs to step up and get it rolling.
And dance.
Friday night.
Step up and dance.
Yeah.
Middle school dance, make the move.
And one thing I think I shared this with some people in response to some stuff, last week is, really, I don't think it matters really, what noise we make, whether you, are clapping, whether you're beating a pot in a pan or whether you're screaming at the top of your lungs. But as an athlete, and for me, like even when I played sports, like, man, when you got a crowd behind you that is involved and they are roaring, one thing that I know it's not football, but in baseball, we got to play in a very historic stadium in a field in Lakeland. It's called Henley Field. It's still played on today. And what makes it so historic is that's where, the Detroit Tigers used to spring train way back in the day. And, Babe Ruth played on that field. So it's a, pretty historic field. And I've gotten to play on it. And the stands are still very old school. But the way the sound from the crowd bounces out of those stands, it goes straight to the field. Like they're kind of in a cocoon almost, and it pushes it straight to the field. And I got to play in some really crazy games on that field. And when it's a home game for you, and people are yelling and screaming, I mean, it's loud. It's deafening, even for a baseball game. So you just imagine in a football environment, and these are all the people that are going to plan on being there this Friday night, is if you're loud, man, that gets those kids so pumped up. And they are just like ready to go. And you'll see it in them. Like you'll see their body language. They'll be ready to run through a brick wall when you start cheering and getting loud and getting excited. So yeah, bring pots and pans, bring a blender, bring whatever you got to do. But with all that being said, I think the Cairo Thomasville game, I think it's gonna be a great game.
It will be.
I think it's gonna be really good. I'm excited about it. I'll be there and be ready to go. We'll all be there, loud, screaming, ready to rock. Well, we won't. The three of us, we won't be screaming too loud. We got
to preach
to do on Sunday. Yeah, got to preach. Got to preach. So, but anyway, so all right. Now the next thing we want to get to, we talked a little bit of high school football. Now we want to get into some college football. And this kind of stinks. Andy got some technical difficulties, and we lost him. I don't know if anybody caught that or not, but Andy is no longer in the picture. But we had some technical difficulties with Andy, but that is totally okay. But this was going to be a segment that he really wanted to be a part of, and because now in college football, the first thing we want to get into is we want to react to the Florida State Georgia Tech game. And with Andy being such a Florida State fan, I know he had some things to say about this. One thing he did say to me, though, on Saturday when we were talking about it was that, Georgia Tech earned it. He didn't feel like Florida State played to the standard that they were hoping for going into the season. And so he kind of just humbly tipped his hat to Georgia Tech. But I'll say this too, and you guys can disagree with me or agree with me. That game, and I'll say this, I believe if that Florida State Georgia Tech game is played in Tallahassee or even Atlanta at Tex Field, Florida State blows them out of the water. I really do. Maybe not blow them out of the water, but beats them pretty convincingly. But man, that traveling across the world, traveling to Ireland, that's a whole game in and of itself mentally. And trying to get mentally prepared for that. You're out of your element, your routine is off. Because those guys, especially at the D1 level in football, you're very disciplined on your routine. I mean, even for home games, I don't know if a lot of people know this or not, but even for home games, the home team doesn't even stay, they go to a hotel. They stay at a hotel together. It's still very routined and disciplined. And so that kind of all gets thrown out the window when you're in a country that you've never been to before and things like that. So I think people, though, may have underestimated Georgia Tech. I think they have a great coach. I think they have a great quarterback that's starting to finally find his way after not having it at Texas A&M and then really kind of stumbling at Georgia Tech, but now he's there. And so it was a great game. I thought the Georgia Tech ran the ball really well, and then that kind of opened it up to a lot of other things later in the game. But, for a week 0 game to kick off the college football season, and it comes down to a last-second field goal. I know Andy hated to be on that end of it, and I know all you Florida State fans listening hated it. But, man, what a game to start the college season. I'm excited. So, Matt, what were your thoughts on Tech Florida State?
Yeah, so I was able to watch the first good bit of the game, and then we actually had our son's birthday party, so I had to finish the game by ESPN updates and things like that. And then when I could, kind of watching it, and it's every time you turn on, something was happening on one side or the other. So it's okay, great, Florida State's doing great, and then hold on. Georgia Tech's doing something crazy. It's just back and forth, which I love. I wish I could have actually watched it. Going back and reading and listening and all this stuff. I mean, it did sound like an extremely good game. I do think that a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, underestimated Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech has a good program. I do think the coach is kind of onto something there. I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the rest of the season coming up, because you got to think this just propelled them skyrocket, up. And sure, they're going to have to, you're going to have to find a team that's going to have to bring them back down to size, and they're on a high cloud. At the same side, on the other side of that, you look at Florida State, who kind of came in, I think, probably just like everybody else, thinking this was going to be kind of somewhat of an easier game. They got hit in the mouth quick. It was crazy because they scored 2-point conversion, which was just weird to kind of kick that stuff off like that. And then Georgia Tech just didn't let up, and they kept fighting, and they got it. So, I mean, it was a tough, hard-fought game. It's definitely not what you want as a Florida State fan for your very first game. But I think you see there's still some room to grow in this. Hey, it's just the first game of the season.
That's right.
I worded it this way earlier today with somebody. I was more impressed with Georgia Tech than I was unimpressed with Florida State. Georgia Tech, I go back to last year. We always play them the last regular season game of the year, and we struggle with them. But I remember everybody writing that off as, Georgia's just looking ahead to the SEC championship game. I don't think so. I think Georgia Tech. I think that Brent Key is a really good football coach. I think it's starting to show up. I got a buddy of mine that's a diehard Georgia Tech fan, and he certainly is letting me hear it. But I'll say this: I think Georgia Tech, and I was looking at their schedule earlier. I think they could. I think they are a 9-3 team. Could be a 10-2, 11-1 team. I mean, you're staring at a schedule. Realistically, they're going into let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think October 19th they're hosting Notre Dame in Atlanta, and I think they'll be 7-0.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is what I like about Georgia Tech. Love the quarterback. Offensive line, some road graders, man. I mean, these dudes, if you remember the broadcast, they were highlighting these 4 down linemen for Florida State. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm not picking on Florida State because it might happen to Georgia too. Those offensive linemen were rolling those defensive linemen up and bullying them around. Yeah. And look, it was still a close game. Florida State is still a very good team. I don't love DJU. Not a fan, but it is what it is. And I don't think they have as many playmakers on the outside as they need. They got running backs. I think their defense is going to be okay. But more impressed with Georgia Tech than I was unimpressed with Florida State. I hated it for Andy, man. I know that's his team. I was pulling for Florida State. But Georgia Tech is going to hurt some feelings this year, and I hope it ain't Georgia's.
Yeah, for sure.
They were definitely very impressive. Do you think it was part of the game plan or just trying to play to DJ's strengths, but like no real downfield shots? I think I saw, like, I don't know if it was a second half stat or whatever, but he had like a minus 0.1 in some type of passing stat, which is crazy to think. But like he completed a lot of passes, but I think his total yards for the game was still less than 100 yards.
Bro,
there was no downfield shots.
He ended up with like 193 passing or something. But here's my take. And again, I'm not getting into that's who their quarterback is. He transferred in there, but this is not new. This is what it was at Clemson. This is what it was at Oregon State, and it's still what it is right now. I mean, he's just. I think the name recognition and the high-profile recruit coming into Clemson when Clemson was coming off those national title runs, I think people just automatically put him in the same category as Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson. He is not. He is not, and he's not going to miraculously turn into something he's not. He's a game manager. I think at best he's a game manager, and for game managers, you need some elite playmakers on the perimeter and everywhere on the offense to make up for that. But me personally, I'm not impressed with him, and I think you probably get that same sentiment from a lot of Florida State fans.
Yeah. I know Andy wasn't really high on him after the game, but that's understandable.
Even before he had questions, though.
Well, yeah, he did. He was kind of concerned even before the game. And I'll say this too, for any Florida State fans that are listening or watching, listen, don't write off your season, right?
That's right.
It's still a very long season. It's a 12-team playoff. Like, let's calm down. I know a lot of people had you in the Final Four or in the top 4. I certainly did in my bracket. I don't think my bracket's busted after the week 0 game. No. Georgia Tech is a good team. They finished pretty strong last year too, if I'm not mistaken, and kind of showed some signs of hope and got some good guys in this year. And so, yeah, they're a good team. But like to Brian, to what he said, with their schedule, they're definitely a 9-3 team, maybe even a 10-2 team, and not ruling out a possible 11-1. So Georgia Tech is, they're not just academics anymore. These boys are coming to play some football. So, and to all you Georgia Tech fans, I know there's some Georgia Tech fans that are listening and watching. Shout out to y'all. You did great. There you go. There's your moment. But just remember, November's coming when you got to play the Dogs, okay?
Nerds.
Just remember that. Yeah, nerds. But it sucks too that Andy's not here to give his reaction to it. I would love to hear what he has to say about Florida State Georgia Tech game. But anyways, long season. I think they go now back to Tallahassee and they play Boston College believe. So that should be a good bounce back win for them. So, all right, now we're going to pass it over to Brian because we want to continue with some college football, but we're going to do some live predictions for some of the marquee matchups as week 1 approaches this weekend. A lot of big games, in the top 25. A lot of big games outside the top 25. But other than that, there's still some pretty big games going on. So Brian is going to hit us with some marquee matchups. We're going to give our kind of live predictions on how we think those games are going to go. And so will Brian. So Brian, take it away.
I just got a few here that stuck out to me this week. These early weeks, we're kind of fortunate to get some good games like we have because usually the games aren't very good early on. But one that sticks out to me, and I think they were talking about it on game day this past week, is Penn State sitting there ranked number 8 having to go into West Virginia. A couple of folks picked West Virginia to win the Big 12. So what are you thinking there? Number 8 Penn State going on the road to West Virginia, noon kickoff. What do you think?
I think Pat McAfee had West Virginia winning that game, and maybe Nick Saban did too on College Game Day this past Saturday. I don't know. I don't know much about West Virginia, but it seems like it's one of those games that it could be like a sneaky game at the beginning of the year. But Penn State, if they're as good as everybody says they have been, and they're coming into this season better. I don't know if a noon kickoff in is it Morgantown? I don't know if that's I don't know if that's a huge difference maker, but I don't know. Maybe Penn State will just handle business. So yeah, give me Penn State.
Same, Matt.
Yeah, I don't know. It was interesting. Like when I think about that game, I mean, off the top of my head, I'd say give me Penn State. It is interesting though that you do have some of these other guys like a Pat McAfee, even like a Nick Saban, who, of course, know more about the game than what we do, and for some reason they're sliding.
Take that with a grain of salt.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Pat played for West Virginia, and Nick Saban is from West Virginia.
I understand
so take
that.
those two with a grain of salt.
But it's Nick Saban. I mean, come on. But the fact that they're even bringing it in though, I think it I don't know, it definitely warrants some TV time to watch. But I still think pinstripes. I think Penn State comes in and they maybe a close one at first, but I think they walk away with it at the end.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Penn State still gets it done, but it's definitely one to pay attention to. Let's slip down. Let's do Brandon's Florida Gators hosting the Miami Hurricanes. The U. What do you think, Brandon? Kick us off. I mean, I know what you want to happen. Do you believe it's going to happen? I mean, number 19, Miami, I think they like what they have.
What's that, 3:30 game? 4 o'clock, 3:30,
4:30 kickoff.
3:30.
In the swamp.
3:30 in the swamp. They just announced a couple days ago that it's sold out. So you're going to have 92,000+ people rocking. And I'll say this. I know people, as soon as they hear me say I'm a Florida fan, they want to write me off. I get it. But here's the thing. I just encourage anybody, and I'm going to do this on the other end too. So let me finish what I'm saying here. If you're not a Florida fan, you're a Georgia fan, Florida State fan, whatever, I encourage you, just one game, go to the swamp and experience that. I'm telling you, it is unlike any other place. I mean, it is so loud in there. It is deafening. I've been to Doak Campbell Stadium when it's sold out and it's crowded. Still has nothing on the swamp. And that is not a biased. I mean, I was genuinely wanting it to be loud, and it's nowhere near as loud. Now, I have never been to Sanford Stadium. I have not been under the lights or in between the hedges. And I do want to go. I want to go experience it. And while I'm there, I'll root for Georgia. But I want to experience that too, because I heard that place can get rocking. But so I say all that to say the swamp, 3:30, in-state rival, Miami. They've got some weapons. They've done really good in the transfer portal. All I keep hearing, though, is how sneaky good Florida's going to be. And it's kind of like I'm not going to believe it until I see it. I think it's going to be one of those 27-20 games or 27-24 games. Like it's going to be not as super high scoring as people may want it to be, but it's going to be a very good game. It may come down. It may be like a Georgia Tech, Florida State. Like it may come down to a field goal, depending on which Florida team shows up. But give me the Gators 27-24.
Maddie?
Not so fast, my friend. If I would have been in my office, oh man. So I have weird side note. I actually have a Miami Hurricane helmet signed by Mark Rick.
Yeah.
So if I'd have been in my office, I'd have probably like stuck it on my head like Lee Corso does. No, I do think it's going to be a close game at halftime, and I think after halftime, Miami's just going to kind of start walking away. No, I'm just kidding. I'm playing. I think it's going to be a tough game. I do think that Miami kind of is going to get the win out of this. I said this earlier when we did our picks. It's just, I don't know. They do have some weapons down there. I think they're ranked 19th for a reason. But here's the thing: you're going to find out really quickly if they're 19 material or not. I think Florida's going to come out hard and fast at the beginning. It's just a matter of can they keep it up. In their home course, let's see what happens. But I have Miami edging out of the end of it right there, kind of coming out on the end.
I say this too. Last year, so let me go back to last year for all my Gator haters. And this is how realistic I am as a Florida fan. So last year, defense was really young. We knew that going before the season. We go to Utah, and I remember we had a Gator watch party at First and Broad. Shout out First and Broad Pizza in Cairo. And we had a Gators watch party.
Wow.
Out there in the back.
So you and Clay was there?
I was like,
I was me, Clay, Mark,
all two of you.
Yeah.
all
Mark
three
was
of
there.
you. Okay.
Karen and her husband were there because
booming.
the owners of First and Broad are Gator fans. So yeah, bump y'all.
Wow.
But anyways, we knew that the defense was going to be young. And so I remember sitting there and we're like, all right, we're about to find out how young these guys are. First play of the game, Utah throws a bomb, 75-yard touchdown. And like 5 seconds have gone off the clock and it's 7-0. And it's like, oh, and that was the tone the rest of the year. It's like, all right, this is going to be a young defense. But now they're talking about their experience. We got some more guys. Offense is better. So I don't know. I'm not trying to like build this defense for Florida, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Well,
go to the next one.
All I've heard, well, I get to pick.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Pick Miami and let's go.
All I've heard all summer, I keep seeing it's going to be an active hurricane season. We've had one little old rinky-dink hurricane come up through here. Give me the Gators by 10. Gonna make it look easy.
That swamp is hard to play in, boy.
Let's do where is it? Notre Dame at Texas A&M. This one intrigues me now. Number 7 Notre Dame going on the road to number 20 Texas A&M at College Station.
Oh, it's at Kyle Field. Okay.
Oh
man, that's a tough one.
That's a tough one. And I think it's tough because it's like it's two things. One, it's like no one really understands or really knows like what Notre Dame is going to be in the season until like they get a couple games under their belt, right? And then they always seem to like get in their own way as the year comes to an end. But then like on the other side with Texas A&M, it's like they always have all this hype of like, oh man, they are just going to be like this electric team. And then
they go 6-6.
Yeah, it was like last year, the year before, they're like, oh, they got the number 1 recruiting class. And then come to find out it was just like Jimbo stealing all this money. And then they were terrible. So now, is this their first year without Jimbo? This would be new coach, right? Or is this second year without Jimbo? That would be first year without Jimbo.
First,
right?
Isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's the first year without Jimbo. So new coach, new team. I mean, they are an SEC team, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like I don't know. I'm so torn between them because I feel like Notre Dame gets overhyped.
It's the guy from Duke, right? Elko?
I think so. But like I said, I feel like Notre Dame gets overhyped every year, and then they kind of like weed themselves out by the end of the year, and then they're not in it. But then Texas A&M is kind of the same way too. But I don't know. Something may be different about Notre Dame. I'm picking Notre Dame. I'm taking Notre Dame in this game to go on the road in Kyle Field, home of the 12th man, and beating the Aggies because I just don't think – I think the Aggies are still – I think they're reloading. I don't think that they're ready. They're ready yet. And I hope that stays true because I think Florida's got to play them this year too. I may be wrong. But but I just don't think Texas A&M is going to be as good as people think.
Yeah. It is Mike Elko. It's his first year, I believe. I think they named him 2023 as the coach. I don't have a lot to say other than I think Notre Dame comes in, handles business, kind of shocks Texas A&M, kind of shows them that you're not really necessarily 20 spot material just yet. I think they've got some ways to grow. I do think they're bringing some guys back, but new coach, kind of new system, trying to figure it all out. I don't think they've got enough time under their belt yet to kind of really know how to work that yet. So I got Notre Dame on this one.
It's interesting. The odds makers actually have A&M favored by 3. I think it's going to be a really tight game, probably a one-possession type game. I think Notre Dame gets it done, though, so I got Notre Dame going down to College Station and getting it done. Let's do 2 more. This one's actually Sunday. Sunday evening, you got the USC Trojans going on the road to go to Baton Rouge. Number 23 USC Trojans taking on number 13 LSU Tigers. Actually,
no, they're playing in Las Vegas, I believe.
Yeah, that's a neutral site game, so they'll be in Vegas. USC and LSU in Vegas. Who you got?
LSU is good, man. That'd be really good. What's the spread on that, or what's the line there?
LSU.
Do you have it in front of you?
LSU by 4.
Yeah. Oh wow, only by 4. Okay. I mean, I like LSU. I know I didn't pick SEC for Texas A&M and Notre Dame, but I'm gonna go pick the SEC. I think this is one of those games. Even it's in Vegas. Had it been in Death Valley, I wouldn't have hesitated. LSU all the way. But it is in Vegas. It's not across the country. It's not in Ireland or across the world in Ireland. But yeah, give me LSU. They'll probably cover, if not do better than that.
Yeah, I agree. I think LSU. To me, USC's kind of always been the team, kind of like what y'all were talking about earlier. I think they're overhyped. I don't really think they're as good as what people give them credit for. The big thing is they just hear the name USC. They think back a couple of years ago where USC had a run for a few years, and they're just not the same team. I've got LSU winning that one. I think pretty easily, actually.
Yep, I agree. I think LSU is going to be good this year. I do. I think they're going to be one of those teams that's just going to be a thorn in everybody's side. It's going to be a team you don't want to see, regardless. I think they probably end up 9-3, 10-2, somewhere in that range, but probably losing to a team or two they shouldn't lose to and beating a team or two they shouldn't beat. I think that's the type of year it'll be, so give me LSU. Last one I want to do, I'm not going to let y'all pick against the Dogs because y'all already basically picked them to win the whole thing. So this is what I'm asking you. Georgia Clemson. Is Georgia going to cover the spread, 13.5? Are they going to cover the spread against Clemson, yes or no?
13.5.
13.5 is – no, I'm going to say no. But I don't think that – I mean, obviously you guys still win the game. A lot of returning weapons coming back for, and again, people are like, well, it's not a home game; it's in Atlanta. That's a glorified home game for Georgia, if being in Atlanta.
Bro, Clemson's like 60 miles from Athens. It's a home game for them too.
No, Georgia. I mean, y'all travel so well.
We're gonna take it over either way.
And I'll give Georgia fans the bait. Like, well, we're used to going to Atlanta for the SEC championship game. Yeah, whatever. You are.
Might as well have season tickets. National championship game, semifinals, SEC championship, Chick-fil-A kickoff. We don't play more games in the Mercedes-Benz than the Falcons.
Jeez.
There's probably some truth to that. I think Georgia wins, but I just don't think, just because it's a week 1 game, we're trying to knock the rust off. We're trying to figure out what we have. I mean, Kirby could prove us all wrong and they just come out just firing on all cylinders. But that week 1 games are always kind of weird. There's always either that element of surprise or just kind of go through the motions and get through the game. But I think they win. I don't think they cover 13.5. Give me 10. Give them winning by 10.
Maddie?
I don't know. I mean, 13.5.
It's a lot.
That is a lot.
2 TDs. I mean, you got to beat them by 2 touchdowns to cover.
Yep.
That's a lot.
But you know what, though?
Put a score to it and think about it, though. 31-17.
Yep, I've got them. I've got them winning, and you know what? I'm going to step out on a limb here. I'm going to say they cover the spread.
Yeah,
I think 34-24. 34-24.
Yeah, I think it could be one of those games where the spread is covered, and maybe Clemson uncovers it late. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I could see it being 34-17, like late, and then them getting one, in the last 3-4 minutes or whatnot. But I think people are sleeping on Clemson a little bit. Dabo's got a lot of heat about this whole transfer portal stuff. I'm gonna tell you something. He's still a good football coach. They're going to be a good team. They are going to be dangerous in the sense that Dabo is going to have them convinced that they have nothing to lose. They're going to be playing with reckless abandon. This is the type game where you're going to see trick plays. You're going to see a lot of creativity. You're going to see them throw everything at us. And the reality of it is, I'm not poor-mouthing. Georgia has a ton of talent. Some of it's inexperienced. We have all the stars. We have the look and the physicality, but there's going to be a lot of inexperience out there. So it's a big environment. Dabo's going to have those guys ready. We're going to have to show up. This ain't going to be no, walk in the park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go Dogs.
Have any more matchups, or is that?
No, that's it. I was going to let Andy pick Boise State and Georgia Southern, but he
picking Georgia Southern, baby.
I know. I was just going to let him get excited about it.
Well, he picking the Eagles, boy. He picking. All right, hold on. I'll do my best, Andy. Boy, we picking them Eagles, dog.
He will be there in person. So if it's visit, it'll be a big upset.
And if Georgia Southern wins, that just means Liberty making the playoffs. Boy, that's all that means. Shout out to my alma mater, boy, the Liberty Flames. All right. All right, new segment alert. We're going to jump into a new segment here. We have AJ is heated. We have Brian is bothered. Now we have offered Matt his own segment. Matt has his own segment. And now he's going to be asking, because we're big on like these heated debates and these heated like topics of, sock shoe or sock shoe or, all of those different things. But so now Matt's going to kind of walk into, he's going to give me and Brian a scenario. Like, would you rather this or that? We're going to pick it. And I could already probably tell you that Brian and I will most likely agree on this, and then Matt will be the one that disagrees. But who knows? We'll leave that element of surprise probably there. So, Matt, take it away with your would you rather.
Okay. So, to start this off, I wanted to do something that I feel like is kind of an easy one for you guys. Like, I have looked all afternoon long, and even before we got started, just trying to figure out some good ones. But I thought, let's start out with an easy one for the first go around. Okay. Here it goes.
Okay.
Would you rather have telekinesis or telepathy? Now, telekinesis is, of course, the ability to move things with your mind. Telepathy is the ability to read minds. So, would you rather have the ability to move things with your mind or have the ability to read people's minds?
Which ability to read people's minds, 100%. 100%. What am I going to move with my mind? Furniture?
I'd be moving that ball backwards on Clemson if I can move it. I don't care what the quarterback's thinking. I want to move the ball backwards. Field goal to win it. Whoop. Give me telepathy. Oh, wait, which one was moving it? Telekinesis or telepathy?
Yeah, telekinesis.
I want kinesis. I want kinesis.
I want the telepathy.
I threw out big words. I'm sorry, guys.
I'm just calling it kinesis. Just give me kinesis.
Okay.
Give me that disease.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know though. I mean, I feel like telepathy. I would be just like, like be dangerous picking some people's minds. I would be a little afraid of what people might.
I just feel like you're setting yourself up to sit around and just be triggered all the time. Cause
yeah, I know. That's what I was getting at. Like, I don't know if I want to do that.
Well, here's the thing. Like all three of us are pastors. I don't think we really want to know what all of our people think all the time.
Yeah, no.
Could you imagine preaching your next sermon?
Yeah.
But I would love with my mind to be able to pick their chin up so they wake back up.
That's right. See,
Hey.
you can move with your mind.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I don't need telepathy sometimes because I feel like some people are just bold enough they do tell me how they feel. But I feel like I would just save ourselves some conversation, and I can just know what you're already.
I got
thinking,
it. Stop.
And we just move forward.
Go your way.
Move forward. Move forward from.
I want to move stuff with my mind. So you got me intrigued now. Like I'm trying to move stuff on this desk right now. It's not working.
Like, could you imagine like sitting in the recliner Saturday? You're watching football. You want something to drink. You don't feel like getting up because you don't want to miss a play. And then there you go. Boom. There's you something to drink. Boom. Right there. Yeah, I'm going with telekinesis. I think it would be awesome to be sitting in a room and just let random things just start moving, and you just have this smirk on your face like, oh, that is weird. Yeah.
I can just see Brian looking as one of his kids and go, hey, pass me that remote. You know what? Never mind. I got it.
Could you imagine how powerful that would be on the golf course? I could give a rip what you're thinking, but if I had the power to move your ball with my mind,
just like there's a putt to win. Oh, you had it. You had it.
Look at a little too much spin on that one. Back in the bunker.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Man,
that was a good
one.
All
right.
Have you guys? Did you have another one, Matt, or was that your?
No, I'm gonna save the rest of them. I wanted an easy one to kind of start out with, so we'll put that out.
Have you guys seen the one with? Have you guys seen the one that Barstool did with Theo Vaughn? And I did this with because we saw this in Walmart. What I'm about to ask you, but and I asked Jessie what she would do, and her answer was hilarious. So I wanted to see what y'all thought, and it made me think of it. So the question that Barstool asked Theo Vaughn was, would you rather you could sit in jail for a year or go to jail with a Rubik's Cube, and you could leave jail when you finish the Rubik's Cube?
Oh, God.
So go to jail for a year or leave jail when you finish the Rubik's Cube.
It's easy.
It's easy.
He said, Theo Vaughn said, give me jail for a year. He goes, I'll catch up on some reading, catch up on sleep. And they're like, well, how long do you think it would take you to do a Rubik's Cube? He goes, about a week. They're like, he still would want jail for a year? He goes, 100%.
Oh, jeez.
No. Y'all don't know you don't know the path to solve the Rubik's Cube?
I don't. I've had to Google it, and I still mess it up.
It's simple. I mean, I mean, it doesn't take I can't do it like the fastest in the world, but it's 3 moves, man.
You think you could do it within a year?
Dude, I'd be out the first day. I wouldn't be there.
If it was really good.
I wouldn't be there 30 minutes, max.
Oh,
There's only a maximum amount of moves, as long as you got the right rhythm.
I'd be there a good 3 months for sure.
I'd have to I will say this.
Insane trying to figure it out.
If they pick me up like right now without me being able to refresh and prep for the moves,
see,
I may be in a mess. But if I can prep for that and see now, I'll spend the rest of the night committing that to memory just in case somebody ever puts me in that situation.
I can see Brian just sitting in a cell doing it and be like, you know what? Just give me a year.
No, on the 365th day, I'm just like,
yeah, could have had this done by now.
Oh yeah. Hey, can I just tease, because I think this needs to marinate for a second before I bring this full-fledged Brian is bothered on maybe our next.
Oh, okay.
And look, I'm not making any assumptions here.
Uh-oh.
I'm asking a question.
Oh boy.
And I'm telling y'all, this is keeping me up at night.
Oh,
it is.
Geez. It's another restaurant issue.
No, it's not. Believe it or not. If we went to the moon in 1969, how are there 2 astronauts stuck from here to Atlanta above us, and we cannot get them home? I just want to ask that question. I want everybody to think about it. And if you see me in town, talk to me, tell me. This mind, however feeble it may be, cannot rationally think through a world where we traveled 300,000 miles one way 50 years ago, but we cannot go 250 miles today.
Yeah. It's good. So if you see Brian, what he's really asking is if you do believe that we landed on the moon, first explain that to him, and then try to explain yourself how we can't get these two astronauts just floating in the air.
I really don't want to go down that path. I just want to know why we can't go 250.
Yeah.
We went 300,000. Why can't we go 250? That's all I want to know.
Hey, you know what? You know what though? Had you had that telekinesis, they'd be back already.
Yeah.
They'd be back.
I mean, I vividly remember like 10 years ago, a guy, didn't the Red Bull guy like float up in a balloon and jump out of outer space? Like,
he did.
I mean, send him up there. It seems to me like they'd be able to jump on the balloon and they could grab him on the skydive back. I mean, from here to Atlanta, Brandon, Matt, from here to Atlanta.
So what are they in? Are they just floating?
No, they're in the International Space Station. But what they went up there in, the Voyager or whatever the aircraft, there's issues with it. And now NASA came out this week and said, we're bringing them home, but it's not going to be on that. And it may be like
2025.
Maybe like February. It was like an 8-day mission, and now they're on like day 67. I don't know how I cannot understand.
How do they have enough food up there? Did
they've got food? They said that food's not an issue on the International Space Station. They've got food to be able to. It's nothing to do with that. I'm struggling to wrap my mind around why this is such a feat. And 50 years ago, we loaded up and went, Brandon, not a couple hundred miles more.
We loaded up
300,000 miles more. Landed, got out, walked around, took some pictures, got back on, and came back. But we can't go get these people.
I know. And
I'm confused. I'm telling you, I've heard all the conspiracies. I've heard, and I'm not sitting here, we didn't. I'm not playing that game because I have no earthly idea. What I'm telling you, it bothers me that we can't go get somebody 250 miles away. That bothers me.
I mean, at what point? What's the distance to where gravity of the Earth kicks in and it just sucks them right down? Like, I mean,
well, they're on the international. It's in orbit. I mean, the space station's been up there.
I know, but like, if you think about it, though, 250 miles, it's not that far.
It's Atlanta.
Like, yeah, it's not that far. But
you can go outside and see
to the moon.
You can go outside with the naked eye and see the International Space Station orbiting. When it passes over the night sky, you can see it.
Just wave at them like, hey, jeez. I don't know how to. Brian's going to go outside right after we film this and go, come on.
Y'all, I'm telling you, my mind has been blown ever since I've been following it, been tracking it a little bit. I cannot make it make sense. I can't.
That is strange. Well, there you go. On the next episode, we will.
We're gonna deal with it. We're gonna deal with it eventually.
Yeah, we'll full-fledged dive right into that. So, but again, to recap the mess of this episode, again, congratulations to Abundant Life Binders and Believers on your softball championship. Congratulations to you boys. Central versus Cairo game was a good game. Again, I don't think the score told the whole story, but Central has a great team. They're going to continue to be successful. I'm excited of what Cairo is going to do the rest of this season. Thomasville Cairo this Friday night, 7:30. West Thomas Stadium. It's going to be loud. It's going to be rocking. If you are in the Cairo area, you're a Syrupmaker fan, be there, pack the place out, and let's have a good time, and let's cheer on the boys to the first victory of the year, Cairo versus Thomasville. Love to see you there. If you see us, say hello. Love to talk to you, and talk to Brian about the space station thing. Maybe he'll, get him fired up before the football game.
I am not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not. I refuse to buy into that. I'm asking a logical question.
Don't defend yourself. No,
I'm asking is that not a logical question for me to ask?
It is, but we're wrapping up the podcast here. You're gonna have to save that argument for Friday night when someone sees you. College games, big college weekend this Saturday, first week of the season. Let us know who you're rooting for. Let us know who you're pulling for. Go Gators, go Dogs, go Warrior, whatever they are. All right, so but a lot of big games coming up. Would you rather be telekinesis or telepathic? Did I say that right, Matt?
Yes.
Hopefully I did. But it's going to be a good one. Good week. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We'll see you in the next one. Love you. Peace out. See you later.